Okay, factoring a difference of squares. In order to factor a difference of squares, we need to have two terms. There's only two terms in this, separated by a subtraction. You cannot factor a sum of squares. The whole reason why we can factor this difference of squares is because basically if we were to FOIL and go backwards and multiply things together, the O and the I are opposite in sign and they cross each other out, leaving actually no middle term in there. There's no middle term between that we have. We basically have the first term and the last term. So you need to have two things that are squares. X squared is a square and 25 is actually 5 squared. So there's really no trick to it. It's one step. What is x squared? X is x times x. And 25 is 5 squared. So I'm going to get that by 5 and 5. If you make one positive and one negative, you'll see then, just to show you, in FOIL, here's the outer, that's -5. Here's the inner, that's +5. And that's why you end up without the middle term, because they are opposite in sign and they would add to 0. It does not matter if the variable is in the first term, the last term, whatever the case may be. You still always want to look for a GCF. Before you get started, GCF is always the first step in factoring that you want to do. While this problem looks as innocent as, oh, look, they're both difference of squares. 100 is 10 squared and 25 is obviously 5 squared. But you still want to look for that GCF. When I do that in this case, 25 is going to factor out. And I have an even smaller difference of squares going on. I have 4 and then x squared, which I like better than having a 25 in there. So 25, the x is the second term, so the x needs to be written as the second term. 4 is 2 squared, make one positive, make one negative, and you would have it factored. Now, difference of squares can work even if it's the exponent that you have is not a 2. And for example, in this next problem, 4x to the 4th is still the square of 2x squared. So you can do this with exponents that are higher than 2. So in this case, I would have 2x squared and 2x squared, and 9 is the square of 3. Make one positive, make one negative. So difference of squares can work even if you don't have a degree of 2.